no one tells you, because everyone in a marriage is trying to act happy or look perfect. Welcome to another episode of Mbali Talks, your platform for all things business, fashion and lifestyle. In today's video, I actually want to share with you 5 things that I think you'd need to seriously consider before you answer the big "will you marry me" question. If you just made it onto our channel, thank you so very much for stopping by. Please do join our community by hitting that subscribe button below. And if you've been with us since day one, thank you so very much for coming back. Please do remember to hit the like button and also to watch the video so that you can leave me a comment so that I know what part of the video touched you the most. So today's video is the second installation of our relationship love and lust series, which I thought I would do for the month of February in celebration, of course, of Valentine's Day. And I just thought it'd be fair for somebody like me, who's obviously a young makoti, to be able to come on this platform, to use such a platform actually to be able to share with you the kinds of experiences that me and some of my friends have actually had on this road of being married. And I know that this video may seem like at first it's made for women. However, this particular video, and in fact even the other videos that are going to be coming after this one, because they are more or less linked, are all questions that I think both women and men need to ask themselves before they can actually decide, to jump the broom or to cross the line or to cross the road all the way into the other side of what we call today's marriages. And of course, we all know that marriages nowadays are not seeming like they are working out. This is a known fact. However, I do believe that somehow, if you're somebody who actually still believes in it or actually feels like you want to get married, then this type of content is actually content that would come in handy for you and your partner just before you guys decide to tie the knot. This is not to foolproof you and make you feel like, oh my goodness, Mbali gave us relationship advice, then that means our relationship is gonna work out. No. However, I'm just here to share with you some of my own personal experiences of some of the things that I either wish I did or things that I actually did do that may have made my transition into marriage a bit more easier. So the first thing that I'd advise you to consider before you decide to get married is, do you really want to get married? So of course, everyone goes into a relationship and feels like this relationship should ideally lead to marriage, but quite honestly, not everyone is built for marriage. But quite honestly, marriage isn't for everyone, guys, and it's okay for you to take a step back in your relationship before you can either ask the question and or answer the question of "will you marry me?" for you to decide as an individual if marriage is really something for you. What this question does is to trigger the kind of responses that have to do with the why do you really want to get married. Is it for religious reasons? Is it because you're in love? Or is it just because you're 35 and now you feel like, oh my goodness, society expects me to be married by now and to have 3 kids, etc. But is it really something that you want over and above the reasons that you're giving yourself that are not necessarily linked to you, and or the reasons that you're giving yourself that are linked to other people, say maybe your partner and or even your family's expectations? The one thing I've always said to my friends is that whatever reason that you choose for getting married, you'd better make sure that that reason sustains you on the worst part of the relationship. For example, there are people that marry for money, both men and women. So if money is the reason you're going to marry someone, make sure that once you're in the marriage, you're not expecting the person to suddenly show up with flowers, to be compassionate, to do PDA with you, to go on these romantic big gesture holidays with you, because quite honestly, you married them for money, and the money comes in the form of the car you drive, the house you live in, the kinds of things that you're actually able to afford. And of course, as human beings, we are allowed to evolve and to now decide to change our minds based on what we decided in the beginning. That's all well and good, but just make sure that the reason why you want to get married is actually something that you can sustain and or is actually something that is meaningful to you as an individual, instead of it being meaningful to everyone else around you and or because of societal expectations. The second thing that you must consider before you actually get married is to find out if you and your partner are actually really compatible. So I have a rule about trying to get to know your partner when you guys are still dating, which can basically allow you to get a wider perspective and or a wider picture of if you guys are really compatible as a couple, or maybe you guys just need to remain friends and or even strangers. This is my 3-part rule. 1, there's me time, which is basically the time that I spend with myself and my friends doing our own activities and or time that I spend alone. Secondly, there should be us time. Us time is the time that you and your partner privately spend together, whether you're in the house or you go on lunch or you go on a holiday away, just the two of you, so that you can both see each other under different circumstances. First of all, I'd like to see how a guy probably treats someone like a waiter and or a security guard without the pressures of the relationship, because obviously those are some of the things that will allow you to see how the person was raised, if they're rude, if they're a humble person, etc., so that you can also decide if this is the kind of character that you can actually live with. The third installation of time is group time. Group time is basically where you and your partner go out of your house together to go and spend time with either his friends or your friends. And I know that a lot of women usually shy away from bringing their boyfriends and or their partners to their friends. However, I feel like once in a while you should allow yourself to do that, because your friends are the people that you spend most of your time with. Not only that, your friends are the people that probably know you the most. So most likely your friends would be the people that would easily spot red flags in a guy that maybe because of your infatuation with him you have not spotted. Your friends will be able to know that, okay, Mbali is this type of a person and this guy kind of seems like is this kind of a person, so maybe they won't really gel together. And again, they can be able to help you to see some of the red flags that you may not be seeing just because maybe you really want the relationship to work, or you've been single for so long and you recently found a relationship and you really want to stick it out. Your friends are your first point of reference. And also what I found with most women, even with my own friends, which is quite honestly very sad, is that you're going to keep quiet in a corner with your guy and not expose him to us, not even tell us who you're dating, because you're afraid that we're going to come back with the files of who he is or who he's dated or the kind of person that he is. But it doesn't make sense for me for you to sit in a corner and think you're just going to date the guy in a vacuum without involving anybody else, and then all of a sudden get surprised when you're now, say, maybe married to him and you start discovering all the stories. It's like, what were you thinking, baby girl? You hit the guy and then we couldn't even tell you. Maybe he was the wrong guy, maybe he's abusive, maybe he's rude, maybe he doesn't have a good relationship with his mom, which is also something that's very important that we're going to talk about. But you guys have hid each other from the rest of society, yet society is actually the space where you guys are going to be living in, unless of course you guys decide, you know what, the day we're getting married, we're cutting out everybody else around us. Also, I would not want to get into a very serious relationship with someone who has never even taken me out to a braai with his friends and or his family. Like, I've not seen you in your natural habitat with people that know you way before I knew you. I don't even know what your debate is or your views are on religion, on raising children, etc. These are things that are going to be very important when you are trying to decide if you and your partner are compatible for each other. And that's definitely something that you need to consider before you guys get married. The third thing that you need to consider before you and your partner get married is, what are you and your partner's financial goals? According to some of the studies that I came across when I was doing research for this video, and also based on my own experience, money and finances are the second highest rated reason why marriages end in divorce. And I know that money can be such an awkward conversation to have. I mean, it's an awkward conversation to have just among friends. I can't even imagine how hard it is to try and have it with someone that maybe you say you've been dating for a year, or maybe someone who actually feels like, you know what, I'm more intentional about this relationship and I want it to go a certain direction. But that's exactly why you need to have that conversation with that person. Also, what the conversation does is to allow you to be able to see maybe what your partner's 5-year plan is with regards to his goals and his career and how he plans to actually make money with you and or without you. What this also does is to allow you guys to decide if the goals that you have financially are flexible for you guys to be able to accommodate each other's goals, so that you guys can start living a life that is meant to be lived in one. It honestly doesn't make sense for you to feel like you're never going to involve the conversation about money in a serious relationship or in a relationship that is committed and exclusive, because most likely a relationship like that is going to lead to marriage. So what is your plan? You guys are just going to steamroll each other into a marriage without knowing what the other person's ambitions are, what their aspirations are. It just doesn't make sense, guys. And like I said, these are conversations that can come across as awkward, but they are very, very important. And I feel like beyond just the counseling or the marriage counseling that you're going to get from a pastor and or a therapist before you guys actually get married, you guys need to have a personal one-on-one conversation about money and finances in your relationship. I can't personally imagine myself marrying someone who is not ambitious or who doesn't have like a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan. If you know anything about me on this platform, is that I am a planner. Like, seriously, honestly, my vision board is there. It sits there to try and guide me onto the path that I have for myself for the next 5 years, or the next 3 years, or the next year, or the next couple of months, so to speak. So I would not necessarily be able to be comfortable probably jumping into a marriage with someone who I've never even heard say anything about. Maybe he wants to get a promotion at work, or how he's planning to get that promotion. He wants to start a business. How is he going to start that business? What is the business that is going to start? All these conversations become very important because they're going to dictate where you and your partner stay, the cars that you're going to drive, how many kids you're going to have, if you're going to have kids, where your kids are going to go to school. Each and every one of these questions is going to be dictated and or answered by the conversations that you guys have and or the understanding that you have of each other when it comes to your money and finances. The fourth question, and a very important question as well, is for you to ask yourself, do you and your partner share the same values and beliefs? These types of conversations and or observations allow you to be able to kind of get to know your partner with regards to how they grew up, their background, their family orientation, etc., etc. This will also inform the kind of culture that you and your partner are going to create in your own household now that you're married. This is a culture that would be nice for you guys to agree upon way even before you have kids, because you don't want a situation where you guys get married, one person believes Christmas Day should be spent with his or her parents, another person believes Christmas Day should be spent on an island somewhere sipping on cocktails. You guys need to be able to say, okay, maybe one Christmas we're going to be there, one Christmas we're going to be there. But you're not going to be able to have these conversations easily if you guys went into a marriage without necessarily having them in the first place before getting into marriage. This is another reason why it's very important for you and your partner, as per point 2, to spend time with other people outside just your relationship together, so you can get to see some of the traits that your partner may have, and for you to decide if it's traits that you can live with, or if it's traits that are actually flexible and can allow you to feel like, okay, I can live with this, or I'm going to handle this like this with my partner because I know that this is the type of person he or she is. But you're not going to be able to discover all those things if, first of all, you guys don't spend time together, or you don't spend time with other people, or you don't even have these bold conversations before jumping into marriage. I always say to my friends, there's so many other problems that come by virtue of you being married that you will never be able to understand if you're still on the other side of the fence. However, it would be nice of you to have the difficult conversations before you guys actually jump the line or cross the street into marriage, so that by the time those problems come, or all the other problems come into marriage, you guys have a very good and solid foundation where you guys have a culture that is built on both of your values and beliefs. So the fifth and last point that I'd like you to consider before you get married to your spouse and or your partner is what kind of relationship your partner has with his or her family. So growing up, my aunt was always very specific about how you want to be able to date a man and or marry a man who has a good relationship with his mother. This is the same thing when it comes to women. If you're a guy trying to decide if she's going to be a good person or not, you don't want to find yourself in a situation with someone who either totally does not have a relationship with their family, or has a weird relationship that you don't necessarily understand, and without even going into the background of why that relationship is like that, you decide, okay, let me take you, you're my partner, we're going to jump into marriage. As a woman, you want to specifically be able to marry someone who's going to give you your space as well as the respect that you require as a wife. Which basically means a man who is still running around in his mother's skirt is not going to make the best partner for you, because he will frustratingly always take his mother's advice over and above yours as a partner. Remember, based on point 4, you and your partner are now supposed to start creating your own culture as a couple outside your families. This is why pastors usually say something like, a man leaves his home to go and be one with his wife. You want someone who can understand and respect that, especially because, quite honestly, a lot of us black kids grow up in families where we are Christians, or we go to Sunday school, or we grow up in Christian-oriented homes. However, sometimes when we're dealing with our relationship issues, we forget what the Bible says. We forget that you're supposed to leave your family, as a woman. You're supposed to leave your family. Your man is supposed to leave his family, and you guys go and create a structure for yourselves. And like I said, this problem is not only a problem that is faced by women, it's just that it always seems like a majority of the time it is women. I also know men who get frustrated by the fact that, say for example, as a woman, your family is always coming around, you're always taking money to your family. And again, These issues are easier to tackle if you and your partner actually sit down before the marriage to discuss some of them. For example, if your partner says, you know what, I have young siblings that are still relying on me for me to be able to pay their school fees and or contribute to their upbringing, then you need to decide as a woman, is that the kind of situation you want to be in? The reason why people don't have this conversation sometimes is because you fear that it will mean you're going to lose your partner without you guys even sitting down to see if there's a way that both of you can be flexible so that the situation can work. You just keep quiet, cross the street, jump into the marriage, and then suddenly when you're in the marriage, you start crying foul. Oh my goodness, he's taking all our money to his family. But what was the conversation before? The same responsibility again lies on your partner if he's a male to say, hey, this is my story. Will you be able to handle it? If he has not said that to you, trust me, when you guys are in a marriage and those issues actually become a reality, you are going to find yourself resenting your partner. Both of you. Like, it's not going to be one person resenting the other, but it will be both of you, which is why I said in the previous point, there are some things that come up as marital problems that you will never think of and or experience as a person before you actually get into the marriage, which is why it's important for you to consider these things and or to have the difficult conversations with your partner on a one-on-one basis before you guys invite 150 people. Pay a venue, deco, photographers, only for you guys to walk down the aisle and 6 months later the thing is gone. Or because you guys could not sit down and have honest conversations with yourselves with regards to the kind of relationship and or culture that you want to create as a couple. With those 5 points, I've actually come to the end of this video. I do hope that this content has been very helpful to you guys, as well as the content that we had last week, even though it was a bit controversial and maybe sounded a bit harsh, but these are the truths that I feel like no one tells you because everyone in a marriage is trying to act happy or look perfect. But quite honestly, these are the realities that you will need to face as partners, and it makes it easier for you to face them if you have these discussions prior to actually jumping the broom. With that said, I would like to thank you for staying to the end of the video. If you have not joined our community, please do so by hitting the subscribe button, and also guys, please remember to hit the like button so that it helps my YouTube algorithm for this video. Other than that, I'm going to see you guys in the next installation of Love, Lust and Relationships. Cheers.